I gotta get a better way to mount this in here. That was stupid to think that, because the thing I'm using to mount it actually comes with a better way to hold it still, and I just leave it sitting over there. I don't know why. Duh. All right. I'm an idiot. That is all. That's what it boils down to, is that I'm an idiot. Oh, goodness gracious. Let me snuff this candle out. I gotta run away. That thing had it smelling like farts in here earlier. It's rough. But, oh, happy to be back here with you crazy people this evening. But let's dive into this thing. Let me get this thing recording. All right. Y'all bear with me because I may have to run out of here at any given point and help my poor wife with her getting out of bed or whatever. One of the kids is out of bed, but she's doing good. The surgery went well, and we got her home, and she's recovering. So we'll hopefully keep her on the mend, and she'll be back up and running around, chasing me around in no time. But this week's episode is brought to you by Deep Roots Rifle Company. Elevated excellence rooted in integrity and reliability. Use the link in the description to get on over to their website and order just about everything you'll need to get into the woods this fall. From fully custom rifles built in-house to flashlights to help you find your way in the dark. And be sure to tell them that UPO sent you. That's a big thing. When you check out, you find that spot and they're like, whoa, how'd you learn about Deep Roots Rifle Company? Tell them that Under Pressure Outdoors. You heard it on the podcast. So, tonight, we're diving into youth hunting seasons. Most of us agree that getting kids in the outdoors is a good thing, but not everyone's on board with giving them special hunting days. So, why the pushback? So, for those of you that don't know, most of these ideas just come to me from stuff I see throughout the week or interactions I've had with people and conversations, stuff that gets brought up, and I'm like, oh, let's talk about that on Sunday. Or you guys send in a question and we talk about it. But this one, I caught and I see it every year about this time because youth seasons typically open first, right? Whether it's genuine or just joking, it still resonates the same. Somebody's complaining about a youth season because the youth gets to go out and he's going to shoot that 12-point buck or she's going to shoot that 12-point buck with her little 243 that you've been scouting all season. Okay. Before we dig in, what do you guys think? You in favor of youth seasons? I am. Or do you think they give kids an unfair advantage? Leave it down in the comments and we'll discuss it. So, like I said earlier this week, I heard guys complaining about it or I don't remember what social media site I caught it just transactionally as I passed through. It was like, that's stupid, keep scrolling. So, and a lot of times, how do you feel about giving up a weekend? What's going on, AJ? So here's a question for you. If giving up a weekend of your hunting meant your kid or your grandkid became a lifelong hunter, would you do it? Right? The main concerns for the opposition, I guess, if we're going to play devil's advocate, would be fairness and opportunity. And the argument that kids get to hunt before pressure. And the counter to that would be that the youth harvests a very small percentage of game. And even too, like some of our youth seasons down here in Florida are after the regular hunting season. So your season's done, and if you're going to complain about not being able to kill something because you didn't get to participate in youth season, you sucked. That's why you didn't kill anything, and that one more weekend wouldn't have made a difference. I can kind of feel for you if the youth hunt takes place prior to your goodness gracious, sorry, clear my throat. If the youth hunt takes place prior to your regular season, like youth gets, they open a week early or something like that, and we'll discuss some of that in a minute. I can kind of feel for you, I understand, but we'll get there. Youth harvest is a very small percentage of typically of what's harvested. When they do the early hunts, there's also an argument that they could stress herds. The counter is that agencies set seasons carefully. Youth harvest rarely impacts herds. And if those kids are getting after it, I mean, they're impacting herds. They are getting after it, dude. You know. There's a special treatment and tradition part of it, right? The argument is that older hunters don't get special seasons, right? Because we're adults. We also have to pay more to get into the movie theater, and we have to pay taxes and buy gasoline to get to the woods. Like, I think that's there is no, I have a counter here, but it's mute in my point. Times have changed. Hunter recruitment is dropping. You're an adult. Life isn't supposed to be easy. Like, you're supposed to look fondly back to the time when you were a kid and say, oh man, it was so great when I was a kid. I remember being able to do this as a youth. And then you look forward to hopefully being able to allow your children to do the same things you did before they grow out of it. It's a rite of passage and a tradition that gets built year after year to go on these youth hunts. Ay, ay, ay. Safety concerns, okay? Are kids ready to handle firearms? Youth hunts require adult supervision, and they're often safer than a general season because they're just not full of people who probably really shouldn't be handling firearms out there handling firearms. And really, like, I know there's states that require a certain age to go and hunt. Like, kids got to be so old or whatever, usually like 11 or 12 or whatever, but that should really be up to the parent. And if it's, you're a responsible parent, you can make the determination that your kid is or isn't ready to handle a firearm. Me personally, and I've talked about this before with firearm safety and kids, is I've spent plenty of time with my kids from a young age, and they're still pretty young, but when we want to see a gun, it's never no. I don't say no to that. As long as, we have time, obviously. We can't be walking out the door going to baseball practice. Dad, can I see your shotgun? No, get in the car, we're going to baseball practice. Before we're at the house, Dad, can I see your hunting rifle? Sure. Take the time. Pull the gun out of the safe. Make sure it's unloaded. Instruct my son how to make sure the rifle's unloaded. We're going to look in the chamber together, make sure the gun's unloaded, and we're going to manipulate it, mess with it. And what I'm doing there is killing the curiosity. Because if I'm constantly saying no, and the second we walk away, and he feels if he can get away with it, he's going to go and try and open the safe. Now, he doesn't know the combination to the safe. Hell, sometimes I got to sit and think about it, but you're killing the curiosity by just let them see it. Unload the gun, make it safe, let them see it, let them hold it, and take them out to the range and let them shoot, for Pete's sake. And then, I started my kid out young with a Red Ryder BB gun, and we treated that thing as if it was a high-powered rifle. If it got pointed in the wrong direction, we got in trouble. If you did something you really weren't supposed to do, you got in trouble. If it went to the point, the gun was gone for the day. You walk around with the safety off, you get in trouble. You point the gun in someone's direction, gun's gone for the day. And there's just no playing around. You treat every firearm as if it's loaded and every one as if it's real. And it's that simple. And you can instill that stuff from a young age to the point that I watch my son get on to grown men for practicing less than good gun safety. Wouldn't call it bad gun safety, but it's just not, it's questionable. It's borderline unsafe. He won't let you get away with shit. There's cultural resistance to change. People just don't like new regulations. I would argue that youth seasons across most states at this point aren't new. Although Florida's constantly looking to put in new youth seasons. In fact, I saw one, we get emails that come out, and I kind of hit it kind of funny in my opinion, that we're having this conversation, but I put that I had no preference to whether it passed or didn't pass, because what they wanted to do was remove a small game weekend to add a youth turkey weekend. And I was like, I'm not opposed to having another youth hunt or an extra youth hunt somewhere. However, the barrier to entry to hunt squirrels is a lot lower, and you're also removing a youth opportunity for kids who may otherwise be able to, maybe their parents may be financially able to hunt squirrels, whereas they don't have a shotgun. So you got a 22 but not a shotgun. And you don't have the money to go and buy all the extra squirrels. So you can hunt squirrels in a blue jeans and a t-shirt. You're not going to get away with that with turkeys. So I don't want to see the small game season go away in order to add the youth season. I'd rather just have them add the youth season on there and keep the small game weekend. What's going on, Jake? Why agencies support youth seasons? Recruitment, safety, and education, and then there's a small impact. I'll never forget taking my son on his first youth hunt. We were in Alabama. This is when he killed his first deer. We had our lease, and Alabama's youth hunt, let me explain that first. So Alabama's youth hunt takes place between bow season and muzzleloader. It's like the last 2 days of bow and first 2 days of muzzleloader, something like that. Or like the last 4 days of bow season right before muzzleloader opened. I don't remember. It's like 4 or 5 days long. But during that 4 or 5 day period, youth could hunt with a rifle. I was like, we're taking advantage of that for sure. So we went up there to where our lease was, and I want to say it was like Veterans Day weekend. It's early November because Alabama season opens a little later. And got him up there. I didn't take a bow. All we brought was the one rifle for my son to hunt with, and it was all about him. I'm not worried about hunting because I don't even have a bow to hunt with at that point. So I take the rifle, we get him set up. It's all about what he wants to do, where he wants to hunt, whatever he wants to shoot. So that's what we did, and he loved it, mainly because he killed 2 deer that weekend, his first 2 deer. It's quiet. There weren't any other gunshots going on in the woods, which tells me that the participation was low, because I heard gunshots all throughout the rest of the year we hunted during rifle season. But there was no removal of an opportunity for an adult to hunt. Just youth got a different advantage. They can hunt with a rifle. Georgia's kind of worked similar to that too. Well, not similar at all, actually. Youth can hunt with a rifle during muzzleloader season in Georgia, under 16, I think. So when we go up muzzleloader hunt, he takes his 243. I can still hunt. Everybody else can still hunt. He just gets to hunt with a rifle, and we hunt with a muzzleloader. And that is by far my best memory of a youth hunt. Well, and then we went to the duck youth hunt down here last year. We'll get to that in a minute. I understand how and the whole argument was like the kids get to go up and they kill that buck of a lifetime right there during youth weekend, and you haven't got you've been chasing him all summer long, whatever. Um, my caveat to that is, would you also be upset or equally as upset if, we'll say, you're hunting public land and somebody else just comes in and kills that buck? It's not your buck, it's just the buck you've been chasing, because it's a good buck. You don't own the deer. So some other grown man comes in and kills it during regular season. I put in just as much, if not more, work to ensure that when I take my kids to the woods, they see deer than when I go by myself. So, have we ever thought that maybe the kid that kills the 12 point you've been chasing all summer long, their dad may have put in the extra work to figure out where that deer was going to be opening morning of the youth season so that the kid could shoot it? It's no different. It's just somebody else pulling the trigger. I understand the kid didn't put in the work, but somebody did. And if they got lucky, so what? Do you get all bent out of shape and post on the internet when somebody hits it with a car? Say we should ban driving around the woods? It's the same thing, just a run of bad luck. What do you guys think? Come on, Jake, you got kids. You do too, AJ. What do y'all think about youth seasons? The youth duck hunt last year was an absolute blast. And it's even more fun then because you've got, you hear all the shotguns going off and you know it's just kids blasting away. And that down here takes place after the regular season. And I mean, here's another one you can hate on. I get a veterans hunt after duck season. I have yet to go because they don't make it very good for the... It's terrible timing on my part because it takes place typically like February 13th, 14th, 15th. It's my wife's birthday is in February around that time frame, so it usually ends up like the available weekend of her birthday, not necessarily always on her birthday, but the weekend that falls closest to her birthday, that's when the veterans hunt is. So I don't know that I've ever gone on it. But not that she would care, but I feel bad. But the youth hunt takes place a little earlier, and the veterans hunt typically takes place even later than that. Or maybe I'm backwards. I don't remember. But we had a blast last year. I'll put them pictures up on the Friday this week. My son with his deer killed during the youth hunt and a pile of friggin' coots and moorhens he killed during the youth hunt. And that's another thing too, like during the youth season down here for ducks, kids can kill ducks that aren't otherwise in season, or waterfowl anyway, like the moorhen, for example, has been out of season for months at the time February rolls around. It goes out of season in November, I think. What's going on, Knucklehead Outdoors? But you can't, I don't know, I think hating on kids for getting a quote-unquote unfair advantage is a bit ridiculous. I wouldn't even call it that. Tyke says a man in childhood cries about youth hunters needs to spend more time in introspection. Yeah, I agree. If you can't kill it, and like I said, I can kind of feel for you, but you're thinking of it the wrong way. You think you're the only one putting in the work for these deer or ducks or whatever else, but you're not. I put in the work to help find, like I said, I put more work into finding stuff for my kids than I do for myself. I want my kids to have that hunt like a special experience every time we go. We got to have something out there that makes them want to keep coming back, because you have to have a way to get hooked from the beginning. Whether it's seeing deer or whatever. And then in Florida, here's another one. Kids can shoot deer, and this may not be all WMAs, but the antler restrictions don't necessarily apply to them. They can shoot a deer as long as it's over a 5-inch spike. So an antlerless deer is under 5 inches in Florida, and most places in Florida, as far as I know, all of them, but I'm sure there could be one or two. They're going to require a minimum of a 10-inch main beam, 3 points on one side, or a 10-inch main beam, and that doesn't apply to kids under 16. I think for their first buck. Once they kill one, then they have to, and that's, I think, the first buck for the season, not first buck ever. So they get a unfair advantage. Please. And then the memes that get me too, and I'm sure this happens, although I don't think it happens very often. You see the videos all the time. The guy's like, game warden pulls up. He's got out there dove hunting. He's like, and you've got 28 birds here with a limit of 15. I was like, yep, just shy of a 2-man. What do you mean a 2-man? Well, it's me and my boy. And they've got a little kid and like a baby in a car carrier. It's a bit disingenuous, I would think, but I'm not going to say it doesn't happen, but I don't think that happens as far as people whining and complaining about youth season. Yeah, give kids an unfair advantage. Why shouldn't we? They're kids. Why does it have to be as hard for a kid as it does for an adult? I don't even think it I don't know. Talk about crossbows, right? Kids can shoot crossbows. That's okay-ish in my book. I'm not a fan. I told my son he's going to keep practicing until he can draw enough weight with his compound bow to kill a deer with it. Then he can bow hunt. That's kind of where I drew the line. Knucklehead Outdoors says, people that complain either forget how it all started or never experienced the excitement on a kid's face when they succeed. That is true. I haven't killed a deer in a couple seasons now. Not because I didn't have the opportunity to, but because when given the opportunity, when the opportunity presented itself to harvest a deer, I typically had my kids with me, and I wanted, like, my son to harvest the deer. So we try to set him up on it. And sometimes that works out, sometimes it doesn't. I got meat in the freezer. He killed deer. Didn't kill every one we had a chance to have the opportunity on. He only shot at and killed one. But every other time it's just been, he doesn't move as fast. He doesn't acquire something in the scope as fast as I would. So it takes a little longer. And if you only had a split fraction of a second where a deer is stepping out and get them to stop and then they move, they're just gone. You just miss the shot opportunity. He is practicing playing with the new target he won at the club. At the Daytona 55, he out here in the yard all the time, shoots at it, and now he's starting to take that. It's like a Reinhardt 16-sided round target. He throws it and then estimates yardage and shoots, which is good, which is what I told him to do with it, because it's going to come in real handy when you're in a tree stand and that deer walks out And you're like, I think it's 10 yards, 15 yards. You need to know in order to make that shot. I've been practicing with that target a lot too. It's a nice target, really nice target. I'm glad we won that thing. But like I said, I could let my son go and hunt during bow season with a crossbow, but I mean, Grandpa's got a crossbow. He could use that. I don't want to. I want him to put in and it's not because I think the crossbow is an unfair advantage and he could have that unfair advantage. I just want him to put in the practice and the effort to be able to kill one with his compound bow, because that's going to make the sweetness of victory just that much better when he does kill that deer. So, and I really think that at the rate he's going, he'll probably be bow hunting with me next year at the age of 10. Killed his first deer at 7, first 2 deer at 7. Another one last year at 8. Hopefully he'll kill a good buck this year at 9. His first buck from that youth season, pushing it. Calling a 5-point is pushing it. Probably not a legal 5-point, but that's his 5-point. He's pumped. And he's got a little skull cap, nice little skull cap in his rim. And then the next day killed a doe. Then last year killed a big doe. And we missed a shot opportunity at a nice buck in late season. Just happened that way. And now he's gearing up, watching trail cam pictures. I got some public land hunts. He did hunt some public land with me last year. Saw a lot of deer. I think we saw 15 in one hunt, sitting on the ground. So he's getting the experience of hunting on the ground without a blind. And having a doe. We had a doe at probably 15, 20 feet. And she just stood there and stared at us. I was like, don't move. She is not, my eyeball's red, isn't it? So she has no idea what you are. The way she was looking at him and the way we were set up in the bushes right there, I said, she has no idea what you are. She knows something's wrong, just doesn't know what. The wind was in her face. She couldn't quite make out what we were. She stood there. And she stared and stared and stomped and stared and stared and stomped and then blew and jumped off in the bushes. He's like, Dad, our hunt's ruined. I said, no, it's not. I said, watch the bushes just to your right. So we're sitting off the edge of a fire break. And you keep watching, and she comes up like dead even with us and is staring at us through the bushes. It's like she still doesn't know what you are. She's just blowing because she knows something's not right. And she came back out at about 70 yards and fed around for a while. And then moseyed on. Never saw a buck, which sucked because they could have shot a buck. But not a doe down here. So all in all, I think that youth seasons are a good thing and we need more of them. Now, I don't want to take away other hunting opportunities to add youth seasons like I talked about earlier. Let's put youth seasons, either, we do things like they do in Georgia where they start allowing you to hunt with a rifle earlier, or we do stuff like we do in Alabama where we hold a special season inside of a season, or we just go ahead and I guess it's a little more difficult here in the Southeast because our seasons kind of run continuously through. Season opens in September and then it just changes from bow to muzzleloader from a Friday to a Saturday, and then muzzleloader to rifle from a Friday to a Saturday. Whereas you go up like to Kentucky and bow season will open for a while and it'll close for 2 weeks. And then during that 2 weeks, you'll have a youth season. And then muzzleloader open, and it'll close for 2 weeks. And during that 2 weeks, you'll have a youth season. And then rifle open for 2 weeks, and it'll close. And during those 2 weeks, you'll have a youth season. And then muzzleloader, and then late archery. It kind of switches back and forth. And they sprinkle youth seasons in between there. And you see that a lot, same with duck hunting, where the first split will close, and there'll be a youth season in between the two. I think that's one of the youth seasons down here. And then the second split opens, it closes, and there's another youth season, and the veterans hunt after that. So, but I'm not for taking away other opportunities. Like we said, we looked at WMA. I don't want to get rid of that small game weekend to add a turkey weekend. Let's just add a turkey weekend. And the whole thing was they didn't want to pressure but you're not hunting the same thing. Yes, there's people walking around in there, but that's a big wildlife management area, and there's people in there all the time riding horses, hiking, riding bikes. You're not changing the pressure that much by making a turkey weekend, or adding that extra turkey weekend in there, especially for a youth only. So I don't know. And then we have family hunts down here in Florida, which is another cool thing where in order to go on to participate in the hunt, you have to take a kid, which I'm all for that too. I put in for those, and they're usually pretty good hunts. I haven't drawn one yet, but I'm trying. So we'll see. But yeah, if you don't like youth seasons, take a hike. Get off your high horse. Just because you can't kill deer doesn't mean my kid can't. Maybe someone should have taught you better. I don't know what to tell you. Well, I'm going to catch you guys next week. Adios. Cut that recording off. Yeah. There goes the... You guys have a good night.